Hello, my name is John James. I am an ELI facilitator with Tarrant County College Northwest Campus in the Mathematics Department. I'm going to be speaking briefly on concentric circles and a topic I called speed calculating. Concentric circles are a way to get students engaged in learning a topic. The first thing you do is you arrange students in two concentric circles facing each other. I've actually had to do this in a where it was not possible to put the students in circles. You could have them in blobs. I did this in a classroom where it was a stadium-style seating at TCC. I just had the students sit beside each other. I just found a way to make it work. Another time I went through a training session, we actually did one similar where we had in lines. We just lined up in two lines, we faced each other, and we had our conversation and moved on. So it doesn't have to be a true circle. It can be whatever shape you need to make it fit the classroom you're in. The first pair of students that match up discuss a prompt that's given or question that you have provided for them. You give them a time limit. Give them one that allows whatever the situation to be given, allows them the time to get it done. You may even have a warning bell or something like that. Maybe it's where you're given 4 minutes, 2 minutes for one person to speak, and then you say, okay, time's up, next person speak. So give them a chance to speak and share their ideas. Or you could just say you have a time to discuss it. So you talk back and forth. This encourages students to speak one-on-one with somebody else. This way they're not just sitting by themselves, they're not listening to you just talk, maybe they're off daydreaming. They actually get a little more engaged by doing this. When the signal is given, one of the students leave. It doesn't have to be the inside person or outside person, but they rotate one or more position. I did it where the outside moved and the inside stayed the same when I did it. It was just easier for the outside circle to move. Or if you have the students labeled A and B, students A get up and move 2 spots over or whatever. Whatever the pattern you give, and you could even change it up. One time they move 1, one time they move 2. It's up to you what you can do. Be creative. Change it around. Give it your birthday. Move 3 and then 2 and then 4 or whatever. Just make it interesting. Once the students move, they then have a new partner and they repeat the process. You can use the same topic if you want to, or you can change topics. So it's really, how do you want to do this? That way students can get different points of view. Maybe you change the question slightly or the scenario slightly, but it gives them a chance to talk about what's going on in the class. And finally, repeat this process as many times as is necessary until you get it done. This is a concept that takes quite a bit of time. When I've done this in my class, I actually use almost the entire class period. Now, the way I use it in my math class is I did it with an idea called speed calculating. I borrowed this from a fellow teacher that I've worked with for about 20 years. She used this idea, and I said, this is wonderful. I'm going to steal that. And she was happy to have me steal it. But what I did was, it was a review day. In the math class, I gave a problem on the board. I labeled the students A and B and said, everybody match up. Every A get with a B. And so they labeled them up. If you have an even number of students, this is great. If you have an odd number of students, just make 2 of them A or 2 of them B. They have a group of 3. That's really all you can do. Or if you want to, you can join in yourself. But I have the students match up in some way. I give them, depending on how difficult the problem was, I had them work on this problem together. They both had to carry scratch paper with them, so they worked problem number 1 out, and they worked together. At the end of the time period I gave, I asked, do any groups think they have the right answer? Several would raise their hands, sometimes they wouldn't, but I would pick on some and say, go ahead and give me your answer. What did you get? Why is that answer correct, do you think? And they would give their answer. I did this one time also where they had little small whiteboards, and they had to work it out, and they held it up and they showed the classroom what they were doing on the problem. So it was a way to get them to work together in review and discuss the problem. That way it wasn't just try to sit in your desk and work on it, but they were working together. And I would try to call on different groups, a different pair. I wouldn't pick the same person as they traveled around the room. I would pick on a different group every single time to have them come up with it. If there was one group I saw that may be a little bit lower, if it was an easier type problem, I may have chosen them to give one. That way I was hopefully getting everybody to get a correct answer. However, if they got a wrong answer, we would talk about it. Why is this answer wrong? How can you fix this? Let's try to make it better for the test. That way you don't make the mistake on the test. In the classroom, it's okay to make a mistake, but you want to make sure you learn and get better for the test. I then had students A stay, and then students B had to rotate. And this is where, once again, I was one time I was in a classroom where they couldn't easily move. So it was like the stadium style seating. I had the B students get up and find a new partner, and they could never repeat their partner. So I made them move around. Another time I did it in a classroom where I had desks that would roll. So I was able to have them rotate around. The inside circle stayed, the outside circle rotated. Another time it was like rows of students. So I had them in even odd rows. I made them all move up one or move back one, depending on the pattern of the room. So they just got a new partner, I gave a new problem, and we started the process all over again. So I called it speed calculating, mainly because they were calculating something, and it was modeled after speed dating. I was using this concept before I ever went to anything to learn about engaging students or anything, to find out this really was concentric circles. And when I heard that, I went, I'm already using this. That's a concept I already did. You can use this in any course. If you're doing a review, if you have a review that's set up that maybe you would go over in class instead of you working it on the board, do this. Have the students rotate around and work together and do this. Like I said, it is kind of time consuming. So if you have a assignment like that where you are reviewing, I think that's one of the best ways. It kept students actively engaged throughout the class. Nobody sat there with their head down or were in their phone. They were engaged because they were sort of forced to work with somebody else. Blackboard Collaborate has an option that I have not tried yet. So in an online scenario, I have thought of this, but I have not actually used it yet. So if anybody wants to try this and let me know how it worked, I would love to hear how this worked from you if you do something similar. What I would suggest on here is start with the students in the Blackboard session. So everybody is in the session. From there, give them the prompt or the problem. My idea would be on the review, maybe give them the first 5 problems. If it was a math review, or if you're using it in some other class, maybe give them a certain number that you've broken down. And so they have a time limit. That way they're in together working in a group for a shorter time period, or maybe a longer time period, maybe, or shorter, depending on what's going on. Give them a couple of questions. Don't necessarily give them just one, but give them a little bit extra. That way they can have more time in the session to work it out. So go into Blackboard Collaborate and click on Share Content. In the bottom right-hand corner, it has the little box with the arrow. Click on that. That's the Share Content. Choose Breakout Groups. From inside there, you can choose how many groups you want. You can randomize them or assign them to groups. So my idea on here would be to randomize them, to have the computer just randomly assign who was in there. I visited a class that was an online class, and they did this. The teacher there actually sent the students out into small groups, and they had 3 questions to answer. She came back into the session. She visited all the sessions and said, now make sure you have a person who is a recorder, a speaker, and so on. She gave them different roles. Maybe one person's a timekeeper. But make sure that when you have students in there, if you have like 4 students in a group, make sure every student has a role. Assign one. Some different roles you can have, like I said, where maybe this person that will speak Somebody else that's the recorder. They're going to write everything down. Somebody else that's a timekeeper. But make sure every single person has a task. One person is maybe they're the police officer, where they want to make sure that everybody is on task. But give everybody a role. That's one of the best ways to make groups. After the time limit is up, have the students come back to the general session, maybe close out their session, force them back into the group, or have them all come back into the group. And then if you need to, do it again. Break it out for another prompt, another problem, or another series of problems. If you want to, while they're in the general session, go over them. What did you come up with? The classroom that I saw that had done something similar, that's what she did. She had them actually speak and say, what did you do? I need group A. Who was in group A? What did you come up with? What were your ideas? Group B, do you have anything to add? Things like that. And so that way the person who was designated as the speaker would be able to come out and would actually be able to speak and talk on that. But thank you for watching this session. I really appreciate it. If you have any success stories and want to share them with me, maybe you have some other ideas, please share them. I am always looking to learn and be able to find ways that I can apply this to my students and to help them all become better students and help me become a better teacher. But thank you and have a wonderful semester.